Good morning, Britain. Boris Johnson faces a plot to oust him from office. In the back garden at Downing Street, and there were tables laid out with food and there was drink. She said it was ludicrous and silly of him not to realise.
And you're absolutely right. You met someone.
With Beth Rigby, because it was like the Prime Minister, his head dropped, his shoulders dropped, he started heavy breathing behind the mask. And it was almost as if, Andrew, he thought, yeah, that's... Because it's the letters submitted to the head of that committee which will be critical for Boris's future.
They are.
We have a situation where a political editor is telling the Prime Minister that he is taking the mickey out of the British people and that his behaviour is ludicrous and silly. Have the Prime Minister, who has literally laid out the rules for 2 years, saying, I didn't know it was against the rules. I mean, then your authority is completely gone, hasn't it?
You have
that are being suggested as alternatives haven't won a general election. So, will the Conservative Party take a risk by we are out of, you know, hopefully, COVID, whether this does get swept away with that.
It's possible.
Records for viewing figures. I think it had higher viewing figures than the final of the X Factor.
But you know, let's hope.
Parodies about that can't understand his own rules, that children are explaining the rules to him, that political editors are telling him that his explanations are ludicrous. That's the issue, isn't it? Things need to be healed and settled out of the public eye, don't they? How helpful is it? Boris Johnson is now planning to crack down on the drinking culture in his party in the garden, or not. There was drink there, so it must have been a party. We wouldn't be in the mess where Keir Starmer is in the drinks issue, which is such a massive, much more likely to do something idiotic if you've had a drink in the workplace. And what we have now, of course, is a social media sphere.
Good morning. It's just gone 6 o'clock. Welcome to the programme. Have we got any booze while we're working today? Is that the plan? Have you got anything under the usual under the table?
I think the Prime Minister might need a tipple this morning, or perhaps we just mentioned the fact that Russell Watson is going to be joining us a little bit later. A lot of people thinking that he might be traffic cone. I was wondering whether the Prime Minister would feel like popping a traffic cone over his head yesterday during that rather remarkable interview with Beth Rigby. Now, Beth Rigby is, of course, Sky's political editor, but she did a pool interview yesterday for 16, I would say, painful and excruciating minutes for the Prime Minister, in which he attempted to look entirely contrite for what had happened. But there were some really significant moments, and one of them was when Beth Rigby spoke to him like, I would say, she was talking to somebody who'd really been pretty badly behaved.
A naughty boy.
A naughty boy. And, you know, he's the Prime Minister of this country. And she said to him, it looks like you've been taking the mickey out of the British people. She called the fact that if, you know, he went into that event...
Use that kind of language, taking the mick silly, to the Prime Minister. Let's not forget, in the end, he is the Prime Minister.
Yes, but it's it's the allegations against him which have led to him being spoken to like that. Let's have a listen to Beth Rigby's interview with the Prime Minister yesterday.
I think what's really telling there as well is that Beth Rigby asks him and puts it to him about the tables and chairs, food and drink laid out. Up until now, we've only heard that in reports, in some of the broadsheets. We've not heard any of the ministers say that or agree that happened. Not only does he not say, no, Beth, that didn't happen, he actually says yes.
Yes, behind the mask.
Yes, behind the mask, he'll say, to the tables and chairs. And I mean, come on, that is... He walks into this garden, he sees tables and chairs, there's food and drink. The work event rules at the time were very clear. Minimise gatherings. And what was the other terms? It was kind of essential work, what's reasonably necessary.
Yeah, and was a party where 100 people were invited into the garden.
That is not reasonably necessary.
Food on trestle tables and drink. Was that reasonably necessary?
Of course it's
for work purposes? Well, there was another moment in that interview yesterday where you could almost see his political soul leaving his body, because he becomes very downcast when Beth Rigby asks him about the two parties at Downing Street on the eve of Prince Philip's funeral. Let's have a look. His head dropped. His shoulders
we've never seen
bowed over, and then
that.
he breathes really heavily, as you can see, that he realises that.
I mean, I've heard that been described by some people as him being a broken man, or others in an attempt at being remorseful.
Significant is because, of course, it was supposed to quell the criticism, but this morning at least 20 Tory MPs are expected to submit letters of no confidence in Boris Johnson over his handling of the Partygate scandal. Rebels believe the threshold of 54 could be reached within days or even hours to trigger a vote.
Yeah, meanwhile, the Prime Minister is due to announce an easing of Plan B COVID restrictions in the Commons this afternoon. Jonathan.